The name's Jenna, and I'm about to spill the tea on my crazy mother-in-law, Monica. That woman's nuttier than a squirrel's winter stash, let me tell you. Me and my hubby Kyle, we go way back. He's always been the apple of his mama's eye, even though he's got an older sister. Monica, well, she's a real piece of work. A bona fide, certified narcissist. The kind who demands presents on her own kids' birthdays, saying they wouldn't be around if it weren't for her. Can you believe the nerve? Kyle's told me some stories about growing up with her. Every time he accomplished something, she'd make it all about her. Typical narcissist behavior. Now, when I first started coming round, Monica was sweet as sugar. But the more serious me and Kyle got, the more her true colors started showing. By the time we decided to tie the knot 3 years ago, she was acting loonier than a toon. Planning our wedding was a nightmare and a half, thanks to her meddling. Kyle and I, we were smart though. Paid for the whole shebang ourselves, so nobody could stick their noses where they didn't belong. Of course, that didn't stop Monica from trying. She kept butting in, wanting to change this and that about the venue. I put my foot down and politely told her thanks, but no thanks. She went crying to Kyle, trying to get him on her side. But I held firm. Our wedding, our choices, period. Now I had this vision for our big day, you see. Wanted it to be laid back, fun, and not too fussy. I told my bridesmaids to pick out a dress in a certain color palette and run it by me before buying, just so I'd know what I was working with. Well, wouldn't you know it, everyone did just that. Everyone except Monica. For months I kept asking to see her options, and she always had some cockamamie excuse. Then the wedding day rolls around, and there she is, bold as brass, wearing an off-white dress. The look on her face when she saw my reaction, like the cat that ate the canary, I swear. I burst into tears right then and there. Kyle, bless his heart, told her to either change or skedaddle. But Monica kicked up a fuss, and Kyle's dad didn't want to drive her home. So, to keep the peace, I let her stay in that dang dress. It was mortifying, let me tell you. Guests kept doing double takes, wondering why the mother of the groom was wearing a color reserved for the bride. I didn't say boo to her the whole day, just pretended she wasn't there. Kyle knew I was upset, but he kept saying to let it go. Told me it didn't matter what she wore, I was still the bride. But he just didn't get it. No self-respecting mother wears white to her son's wedding, period. I decided to forgive her, even though she never apologized. But her shenanigans didn't stop there, oh no. When Kyle and I started trying for a baby, it was a tough road. I had a miscarriage early on, so finding out I was pregnant again had me all kinds of nervous. Kyle, though, he was over the moon about being a daddy. He came with me to every appointment, pored over parenting books, even set up the nursery just so. A real stand-up guy, my Kyle. We waited a couple months before breaking the big news to the family, just to be on the safe side. When we finally felt ready to share, well, that's when the real trouble started. Monica. Oh, Monica. That woman's got a real bee in her bonnet, I tell you what. When Kyle and I finally felt ready to share our big news with the family, we invited everyone over for a nice lunch. Figured it'd be a happy occasion, right? Well, my mama took one look at my growing belly and burst into tears of joy. She got why we'd kept it hush-hush with my previous miscarriage and all. Just thrilled to bits about becoming a grandma. But Kyle's mother? Hoo boy, she flew off the handle faster than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Started howling about how we'd purposely left her out, like she had some God-given right to know about my uterus from day one. I tried to explain our reasons, but she wasn't having none of it. Just sat there looking madder than a wet hen, refusing to so much as look my way. Put a real damper on what should have been a joyful family get-together. All night long, Monica gave me the cold shoulder. Didn't even have the decency to be civil to my own mother, who's never been anything but kind to her. Just buried her nose in her phone, making a big show of how left out and put upon she felt. Kept griping to anyone who'd listen about how she'd lost precious time with a grandchild who wasn't even born yet. As if 9 months wasn't plenty of time to get acquainted. Kyle and his brother could see her stewing, and the tension just kept ratcheting up. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Had to step out for a breather before I said something I'd regret. My mama, bless her, came and sat with me until I could paste a smile back on my face. As the night wound down, Monica made a point of saying goodbye to me dead last. Barely managed a hi and bye to me the whole dang day. Then, when Kyle walked his folks out to the car, all hell broke loose. They got into it something fierce, and I could hear every word standing in the foyer. Thank the good Lord all the other guests had skedaddled by then. Monica started in on Kyle, caterwauling about how I had the audacity to keep my pregnancy from her, like I didn't consider her family at all. Kyle, calm as a summer breeze, reminded her that we'd both agreed to wait until we were in the clear before telling everyone. Well, that set Monica off like a firecracker. She started screeching about how she deserved to know from the get-go, seeing as she's Kyle's mother and all. Saying he should have called her up pronto with the news, and that he needed to grow a pair and stop letting me call the shots. Poor Kyle looked like he wanted to sink right through the floor, he was so embarrassed. I didn't even realize I was crying until I felt the tears dripping off my chin. Monica's words cut me to the quick. I don't mind saying, I was fixing to march out there and give her a piece of my mind, but my mama stopped me. Said if I opened my mouth right then, Monica would just use it as an excuse to pounce on me. And she was right, dagnabbit. That woman was spoiling for a fight, and I refused to give her the satisfaction. So I bit my tongue and let Kyle handle it. Though what Monica said next, well, it darn near broke my heart clean in two. Monica started in on Kyle, saying he needed to open his eyes and see how I was controlling everything. Claiming that, as his mother, she should have been the first to know about the baby, like she had some kind of special grandma privileges or something. Finally, Kyle's dad managed to drag her away, but not before she made a big scene. And let me tell you, that was just the tip of the iceberg with that woman. She's pulled all kinds of stunts over the years, always blowing things out of proportion and acting like the world owes her something. Here, let me give you a little taste. 1. She tried to go behind my back and teach our baby girl Debbie to call her Ma instead of Grandma. I was fit to be tied when I found out. 2. Every time she babysits Debbie, she makes sure the whole dang town knows how much she's helping us out, like we're just helpless without her. 3. When I had some health issues after giving birth, she had the nerve to tell me I needed to be a better mother and just get over myself. As if I was laid up in bed for the fun of it. The list goes on and on, I'm telling you. My relationship with Monica has been rockier than a gravel road, but I've tried to keep the peace for Kyle's sake. Now fast forward to the latest debacle. Monica and Phil, they just moved into this fancy new place and kept pestering us to come see it. Kyle wanted me to go by myself with Debbie, but I was dragging my feet. I knew it was just asking for trouble. But Kyle kept pushing, saying it would get his mother off his back. So I caved and agreed to go over one weekend. That particular weekend, Debbie had a birthday party to go to. I dropped her off and asked my own mother to pick her up after, since Debbie adores spending time with my folks. So there I was, pulling up to the in-laws' new digs on a sunny Friday afternoon. I gotta admit, the place was pretty swanky. Huge yard, lots of fancy landscaping. Phil clearly spared no expense. I rang the doorbell and Monica answered, looking all excited at first. Probably thought I was Kyle, but when she saw it was just little old me, her face fell faster than a lead balloon. She got all huffy, demanding to know where Kyle and Debbie were. I explained about Kyle's appointment and Debbie's party, but that just set her off on a tirade about how selfish we all were for not making time for her. I tried to change the subject, saying I was there to see the new place like she'd been asking. That perked her up a bit, and she invited me in. The inside was just as ritzy as the outside. High ceilings, fancy decor, the works. Kyle's sister Haley was there with her son Jake, who's about 11 or so. Now Haley's cut from the same cloth as her mother. Never been too fond of me, though I can't quite figure out if it's personal or if she's just trying to score points with Monica. Either way, she barely acknowledged me. Monica mentioned that Phil was out gallivanting with his buddies, so she'd called Haley and Jake over for some quality time. I just nodded and tried to make small talk with Jake about school. All of a sudden, Monica pipes up about her latest shopping spree, saying she'd wanted me to come over to get my advice on her new clothes. Could have knocked me over with a feather, I was so surprised. She's never asked for my opinion on anything before, but I figured I'd try to be positive and go with the flow. Told her I'd be happy to help, even though the whole thing felt fishier than a riverbank in summer. Well, Monica just lit up like a Christmas tree and started leading me towards what she called her pride and joy. This big old walk-in closet she'd had built. So there I was, standing in Mildred's fancy new walk-in closet, trying my darndest to be a good sport. She's showing me all these ritzy outfits, asking for my 2 cents on the colors and styles. I'm thinking to myself, well, ain't this a turn of events? But I plastered on a smile and gave her my honest opinions, trying to be helpful. Next thing I know, Mildred's telling me to keep browsing while she runs off to take care of something. I'm flipping through her clothes when all of a sudden I hear little feet pitter-pattering behind me. Before I can even turn around, Liam, that's Hazel's boy, gives me a mighty shove, cackling like a hyena. I go flying into the closet face first, banged up my head and teeth something fierce. As I'm trying to get my bearings, I hear the lock click and the light switch flick off. It hits me like a ton of bricks. That little rapscallion locked me in and left me in the pitch black. Now, I've been scared of the dark ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. Got myself trapped in my granny's closet during a game of hide-and-seek once, and she was so hard of hearing, it took her a solid hour to find me. I was hollering and bawling the whole time, and it left me with a powerful fear of being in the dark. So there I am, banging on the door and yelling for Mildred and Hazel to let me out. But it's like they've suddenly gone deaf as posts. I can hear them yucking it up downstairs, but they don't come running. I fumble for my phone and turn on the flashlight, but my battery's running low, and I'm fretting that it'll die before I can get out of this dang closet. In a last-ditch effort, I call Ethan. He picks up, sounding all casual-like. I'm practically hyperventilating as I tell him what happened, how Liam shoved me in and locked the door, how Mildred and Hazel are ignoring my hollering. And you know what that man says to me? "Are you seriously calling me at work for this? It's not even an emergency. Just call my mother, she's right there in the house." I'm fit to be tied at this point. I tell him I've been calling Mildred and Hazel till I'm blue in the face, but they won't pick up. I remind him about my thing with the dark and how my phone's about to die. I'm begging him to come help me out of this pickle. But Ethan, he's not having none of it. Says he's too busy at work and I need to find someone else to bail me out. Then he just hangs up on me, cool as a cucumber. I'm standing there in that closet, struck dumb by how he brushed me off. The panic's rising up in my throat and I start pounding on the door again, hollering for Mildred and Hazel even though I know it's falling on deaf ears. So there I am, feeling trapped and helpless, when I remember my father-in-law, Pete. He's the only one left I can think to call, even though I know he's out with his buddies. I dial his number, holding my breath and praying he'll pick up. When he does, I pour out the whole story. How Liam locked me in. How Mildred and Hazel are ignoring my cries for help. Pete, bless his heart, promises to hightail it back home lickety-split. Says he can't believe Mildred and Hazel couldn't hear me raising a ruckus. After what feels like a month of Sundays, I finally hear voices outside the closet. It's Pete, and he sounds madder than a wet hen. He's barking at someone to unlock the dang door. The door swings open and I stumble out, blinking like an owl in the sudden light. Pete and Hazel are standing there, looking equal parts worried and riled up. Pete demands to know why I was locked in Mildred's closet. She starts playing all innocent, but I cut in and tell him exactly what happened. How Liam shoved me in and turned out the light. Well, you'd think I just accused their precious angel of murder, the way Mildred and Hazel carry on. They swear up and down that Liam would never do such a thing. I'm fit to be tied at this point. I ask why they didn't come running when they heard me banging and hollering. Their excuse? They were out back, showing Liam Mildred's new rose garden. I spot Liam peeking around the corner and start giving him what for, but Hazel jumps in and says her little darling couldn't possibly have done it, claims I must have shut myself in by accident and the key fell out. I'm about ready to blow my stack at this point. How do they explain the lights being off then? But Pete tries to calm me down and I can see it's no use. Mildred and Hazel are gonna stick together like glue no matter what I say. Feeling lower than a snake's belly, I head for home. I call my mama on the way and tell her I can't pick up little Sadie tonight. Ask if she can keep her over. Mama knows something's wrong, but I just don't have the energy to get into it. When I get home, I'm shaking like a leaf, waiting for Ethan to walk through the door so I can give him a piece of my mind. But when I tell him what happened, he lays into me for overreacting. Says I'm being childish, that his family would never do such a thing. He keeps harping on about how he couldn't just drop everything to come to my rescue, telling me I need to be more understanding. With everyone making me feel like I'm crazy, I start to doubt myself. Not wanting to make things worse, I clam up and go to bed. But I'm feeling all kinds of alone and mixed up inside. What happened to me wasn't no prank. It was downright cruel, especially since they all know I'm scared of the dark. The next day, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. The day before. Monica has always been fascinated by exquisite and rare names. One day, while flipping through a dictionary, she accidentally came across the name Mildred. She liked it so much that Monica decided to change her name. From now on, she is Mildred, a woman with a unique and memorable name. Meanwhile, Kyle never liked his name since childhood. It seemed too simple and uninteresting to him. He always dreamed of something more original. One day, while looking through old comic books, he saw the name Ethan, which simply captivated him. Without thinking twice, Kyle changed his documents and became Ethan, a boy with a bright and unusual name. So there I am, still reeling from the whole closet fiasco, when my cousin sends me this TikTok link. She asks if that's me in the video. I click on it and nearly fall out of my chair. It's Liam, that little stinker, and he's recorded the whole dang thing. He's bragging to his followers about how he pranked me, how locking me in the dark closet was his grand plan. He even hid a camera in the corner to catch it all on film. I'm seeing red at this point, watching him cackle like it's the funniest thing since sliced bread. I waste no time sharing the video in our family chat, demanding an apology from everyone now that I've got proof. I tell Hazel she better make Liam delete that video pronto. But do they take it seriously? Not on your life. Mildred has the nerve to say it's the most hilarious thing she's ever seen. Boys will be boys, she says, like that excuses everything. Hazel's no better, insisting I shouldn't get my feathers ruffled over a harmless prank. She tells me to just let it go. I warn them that if Liam doesn't take down that video, I'm getting the law involved. Mildred fires back, saying I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, and I need to learn to be part of the family. Well, that tears it for me. I'm done with their lack of give a darn. I call the cops right then and there, show them the evidence. They agree it's a serious situation, and head over to have a chat with Hazel about why her 11-year-old is on TikTok, posting videos of himself shoving people into closets. Later, Hazel calls me up, madder than a hornet. Demands to know if I really had the gall to sick the cops on her. I tell her straight up that I did, and I'm prepared to take it to court if I have to. She starts in on me again, but I shut her down quick. I inform her that I'm recording the call, and I'll be happy to hand it over to my lawyer. That sure put a sock in her yap. So, am I wrong for teaching my husband's family a lesson after they left me trapped in that closet for over an hour? Well, I'll be darned. In just a few hours, I've gotten thousands of comments, and most folks seem to understand why I called the law. My in-laws have been blowing up my phone, begging me to take back my statement to the police. No official case yet since Liam's still a youngster. The cops are looking into it, trying to figure out the best way to handle things. When Ethan got home from work, he hit the roof. Apparently, he'd been trying to call me all day, but I was tied up with the police. He's got it in his head that I've ruined the family, that I'm being childish and overreacting to a harmless situation. He's still convinced Liam's just a kid who shouldn't be punished. I've been talking to my own folks and my sister about all this. They know about my fear of the dark, so they're shocked that nobody came to my rescue. And they can't believe Ethan isn't standing up for me. My daddy gave Ethan an earful, telling him that if I called him for help while I was trapped, it was his job as my husband to either come get me or call his parents right away. The fact that he did neither doesn't sit right with me or my family. Thanks to everyone's comments, I'm starting to see that my husband and his family's dismissive attitude has been going on for a long time. I just didn't want to face it. Well, folks, I've got some news that'll make your head spin. It's been a week since my last update, and there's been a big development. Turns out, Hazel's husband Vince was out of town when this whole closet fiasco went down. But when he got back and heard what Liam did, he hit the roof. Vince marched Liam right over to me and made him take down that dang video and apologize to my face. When Hazel tried to stick up for the boy, Vince threatened to kick Liam out if he ever disrespected someone like that again. I know all this because Vince came to see me himself, hoping to get to the bottom of what happened. He brought Liam with him, and the kid looked like a whipped pup, probably been catching an earful the whole way over. As soon as we sat down, Liam started spilling his guts. He fessed up to shoving me in the closet, but then he said something that nearly knocked me out of my chair. Apparently, he'd been showing Mildred his TikTok account and all these prank videos his friends were pulling on folks. And get this, Mildred started egging him on, telling him it'd be a hoot to try it on someone for real. Liam said he didn't think it was right to prank family, but Mildred told him I didn't really count since I was just married in. Said he could go ahead and prank me without feeling guilty. I was flabbergasted. Vince asked Liam if he was just trying to weasel out of trouble, but the boy started bawling and said we could check his phone. Sure enough, there were the messages from Mildred, plain as day. I saved those screenshots lickety-split and told Liam in no uncertain terms that he should never listen to Mildred when she tells him to do something like that. The boy agreed, looking mighty sorry. Vince was fit to be tied. Said it made him sick to think of Mildred putting such ideas in Liam's head, and that he wasn't so sure he wanted the boy around her anymore. He begged me not to press charges. Said Liam had come clean and he was worried about what it would do to the kid's future. I told him I'd talk to my lawyer and the cops, but only if Liam promised he'd deleted the video for good and didn't have any copies squirreled away. Liam swore up and down that the video was gone, so that was that. But let me tell you, this whole thing has got me rethinking my relationship with Mildred. It's crystal clear now that she was behind the whole shebang, getting a child to do her dirty work so she could get away with tormenting me. I can't trust being around her anymore, not knowing what else she might cook up. Well, y'all, it's been 4 months since I last checked in, and a lot has changed. I've moved out of Ethan's place, and I'm staying with my folks for now. Like I said before, my wicked mother-in-law Mildred was the mastermind behind the whole closet debacle. When I confronted her with the evidence, she tried to weasel out of it by accusing Liam of faking the messages. But her lies fell apart quicker than a cheap suitcase once I showed her the screenshots. Liam had already come clean to Vince about everything, so Mildred didn't have a leg to stand on.